John, for you, when you meet someone and you discern that they're carrying the office or the grace of an apostle, what would be some things that would be indicators to you that someone's functioning, say, in that sort of a grace rather than maybe the grace of a pastor or the grace of a teacher? What would be some things that you would maybe look for or see?
Yeah, well, it's a very good question, and I actually think it's difficult to answer.
Right.
And that's because it can't be measured in externals.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people have attempted to have some kind of a defining list of the things that apostles do. And if you do these things, you must be an apostle.
Right.
But the lists don't work. I've seen some pretty good lists. I think the best of the lists that I've seen is the one put out by Bo Salisbury.
Yes.
And it's got 18 and 19 items on there, and they're very thoughtful items.
Okay.
But he himself, in his own introduction to that list, he makes the same point I've made all along, that nothing on the list actually defines whether someone is or isn't an apostle.
Right.
Because even though these are the kinds of things that most apostles will do in the course of ministry, in other words, they're the things they tend to mainly do because it's the nature of the calling, the leadership.
Okay.
It's not exclusive. In other words, lots of people in the body of Christ do any one of those things. Now, I've thought about this a great deal. What is it that apostles uniquely do in ministry?
Yeah.
And, or to put another way, what is it that determines whether someone is or is not an apostle?
Right.
And I've thought about this sitting on planes and buses and trains and sitting right here in my chair at home. I've thought about it lying in bed. I've thought about it sitting in church. In fact, I've thought about it for years. And I've come to a very narrow definition because in looking at various lists,
yeah,
and I was chatting with Bo about his the other day, and said to him, you know, it was good work.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, considering those things, I realized that any believer can actually do any one of those things. So if you're talking about planting a church,
yeah,
casting the demon, raising the dead, you know, miracles and healings, solving a leadership problem, pioneering a new ministry, missionary to a nation where no one was a missionary before. No, in fact, the actual work of Christ in all its forms is open to every single believer. You don't even have to be fivefold or full time.
That's right.
And in fact, Jesus specifically said, whoever believes in me, you know, he who believes in me, the things that I do, the things that Jesus does, he will do also. Now, so therefore, and on the other hand, if you say, oh, well, if you plant churches and heal the sick, raise the dead, you must be an apostle. Well, no, because even people who aren't Christians do those things. and besides, Jesus said even false prophets work lying signs and wonders. So the externals, whilst it's true that there's a list of things that apostles will typically do. In fact, I've got my own kind of list of 12 or 13 things that I think apostles do in a unique way, shall we say.
Okay, that's a great way to say it.
Through that with people, it just, I mean, when I preached about it once, it took an hour, you know. So, I think no, it's something else entirely. It's something that's internal. It is something to do with relationship with Christ. Now, you did ask the question, when I come across someone who has this grace, how can I tell? And there is no answer to that.
Okay.
Because it's not external, if you don't have the inner apparatus to sense something accurately, then it's not with you. But I do need to add a rider to that and say this, that I do not go around the world discerning who's an apostle, who's a prophet. As far as I'm concerned, it's off limits. I don't go for that purpose. Now, occasionally, I'll meet someone that you have such an assurance that, no, this really is an apostle. But I'd have to say that's rare.
Right.
I'd have to say that most people I meet who say they're apostles, I don't have a witness one way or the other, and with many of them I have a witness the other way. Look, but everybody says this. There's not a person I meet anywhere in the world, not someone who sits in the pew on Sundays, nor someone who's actually in leadership, who doesn't say themselves that, lots of people claim to be apostles who are not. It's a modern problem we have, and I think there are reasons for it, and
Sure.
I think it's sorted out as we go along. People have the new language, the new ideas, and they put themselves in the picture too easily.
Right.
It's just a mistake. I think most of these people are good-hearted. They're leaders. They're a blessing to the body. They do good work. And because they now believe that, oh, yes, we have apostles today and the work's meant to be led by apostles, and because they're the leader of the work, and, well, I must be an apostle, these assumptions get made. And I'm not too critical. I think it'll sort itself out.
Right.
I think real apostles, or the mature apostles, are still few and far between at this stage.
Sure.